Hello, hello, hello. How are you feeling, Tyler? We're here.
Fantastic. Not nervous at all.
Not nervous at all.
Not
Yeah,
nervous at
this
all.
quest is gonna run very smoothly, right, Tyler?
Yes. We
Yeah.
definitely didn't run a poll in our secret chat
Uh-huh.
with a list of 10 or so different things for ways that it might break.
Just might break,
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
So we're totally giving him a heads up that it just might break. So there we go. Dang, this chat is very excited. That's for sure.
Of course, it's been a year,
I mean,
almost to the day since we did our last live quest. I am so excited.
look at this. It's like I have an extra mouse laying around just in case I could toss it at
Yeah,
the
me too.
wall.
Me too. I
Dude,
have an extra
I
keyboard
will have
actually,
a
just in
phone,
case.
keyboard. So, all right. I guess, do you want to dive right in? What is this quest about? Why are we here? What is the
Absolutely.
quest?
So yeah, thanks so much, Anushya, for sprucing up our live quest. These discords are always a little bit ad hoc and janky, so I really do appreciate the improvement here. Yeah, we what we typically do is take an hour before the quest, so the quest will go live in an hour. Fingers crossed.
Nothing breaks.
But I do like to take an hour, do a workshop, just kind of walk through what to expect. It has been a year, so we have not done any quests for a long time. We let's kind of take a trip back down memory lane. The last live quest we did, we had skill-based matchmaking, lobbies, lots of things broke, but we had a fantastic time. So much has changed in that last year. So the big thing that we've been working on at Stellar Quest was from the ground up, really rebuilding the front end, adding a whole bunch of new content, kind of fleshing out all of our old series, taking everything that we learned and all the things that we've done and packaging that up into Stellar Quest Learn. So it's this evergreen course where people can go through and earn badges,
Yeah, and it got
NFT
a
badges.
revamp
We're going to try and
recently.
find a way to get the XLM back open again. Don't at me, please. But yeah, you can at least earn all those NFT badges, going through all the classic Stellar operations. Right in the middle right now, the big news earlier this year was we're adding smart contract functionality with Sorobon.
Yeah, the big word,
So
Sorobon.
tons of
The
work
big
has been
S
going
word.
into that.
Yeah.
But now we've got these kind of two parallel things going on where we've got Stellar, the classic side of Stellar with all those like 22 or however many operations, things you can do. And now we're opening up the door to Sorobon. This was kind of like my secret objective here for a long time to, we're going to run out of operations to run Stellar Quest. The only real thing we can do is, I don't know, maybe like a smart contract protocol where we could do anything so I can keep doing Stellar Quest forever. And lo and behold, that's what we're doing. That's definitely why we're doing Sorobon, so I can just keep doing Stellar Quest.
Stellar quest.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, with that said, if folks aren't aware, we're doing Sorobon Quest in
Yeah.
November, so we're going to be
Greatest
learning
quest
lots
to
and lots of
date.
stuff about Sorobon. Just crazy excited about it. I actually hadn't played with Sorobon until I started doing the quest. Right, we got back from Meridian. The announcement went out that we were
Right.
putting Sorobon on Futurenet. So there's an actual public network, like a test network for people to play around with and actually get stuff onto a network. Really exciting. You launched Sora Bonathon,
Sora Bonathon,
which
yeah.
is fantastic. The
So
news was all like, wow, amazing. Maybe just take like a couple of minutes, walk through a little bit of Sora Bonathon, because I think that's
yeah,
going to be a really good thing for people to do in between these quests, because we launch on Mondays and Thursdays. So Sora Bonathon.
absolutely. So for anyone who doesn't know about Sorobonathon or in general Sorobon at all, we have a website. It's called sorobon.stellar.org. This is where our entire documentation, everything lives currently. So it's as simple as you just click the sorobon.stellar.org, click Tinker and Earn. You read a little bit about Sorobonathon First Light. And the reason it is First Light is because we plan to have many more. Like we have all these amazing Stellar Quest lives. So this is a great opportunity for you to simply do a quest. You're like, okay, now I understand what Sorobon might be or is. I've gotten my fingers, my toes wet. And then you go to Sorobonathon, you're like, all right, I'm just gonna play around with it. Literally put your thoughts down on a doc of some sort or a notepad of some sort and just put it in the discussions. And guess what? You can earn rewards for doing so. And here are some of the amazing submissions that have already been made. So just go take a look, get some inspiration, and also talk to some of your amazing community members. Like Raheem here, I don't know if you're on the stream, dude, but this is an awesome submission of a DAO contract, and he made an example. And we also have another awesome example. For example, let's see, the assembly script smart contract by Chris, or Sinesso, and he has an SDK, or sorry, not a smart contract, but SDK with examples. So let's say you wanted to go play around with an assembly script SDK and build on Sorobon. Guess what? You can do that. Chris has already got you covered. So does Overcat with his Python SDK. We have TDEP with all his awesome submissions. Man's made like 5, 6 submissions. Can you believe it? Tyler, like seriously,
he's basically running away with it.
He's like, I'm just going to take all the $1 million that the Sora Bonathon fund has to offer. And he's been making a lot of submissions. But seriously, y'all, so Stellar Quest Live, do that. Go on Sora Bonathon, submit all your Sorobon thoughts, dump it all in there, and you can earn rewards for it. Write smart contracts, make tutorials, create all sorts of cool content, and you can literally earn XLM for it. So go do that after you complete your Stellar Quest Live. And back to you, Tyler.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, I'm so excited. I like I had mentioned, I hadn't actually played around with Sorobon much.
Mm-hmm.
But we get back from Meridian, we're doing Sora Bonathon. I had actually worked, so disclaimer, we almost have a whole series 5 of classic Stellar already written.
And then we've
been doing a load of work to get those ready. Sorry, Elliot. And then we get back from Meridian. I'm like, you know what? I actually don't think we can take the energy off of Sorobon and put it back onto classic. We really need, like, what we have to, the next live quest we do really needs to be on Sorobon.
Right.
Which was terrifying because I still wanted to keep our launch date of November 10th, but I think we had 4 weeks that Monday that I was sitting with Justin. I'm like, you know what? I don't think we're going to be able to release this. So
right.
There will probably at some point be a nice little throwback series to Classic Stellar and the few operations we have left to do. But yeah, so it took me about a week to kind of like wrap my mind around Sorobon, to figure out how to do this myself, to figure out what my quest would be. I don't even know how to write Rust. So I was like, I'm going to need to hire some people in the next couple of days.
We hired from the community, which is awesome.
Yep, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. Which is actually really cool. Like it's been 2 years, a little over 2 years since we launched Stellar Quest for the first time, right? And I built the whole thing from scratch by myself. I had Zach do some of the badges. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's a big project. You've got a front end and back end. You need to have a pretty deep understanding of Stellar to be able to write the checks for the challenges. You want to be careful with how you give lumens away. So it's a pretty complex project, even just to write that myself, but it's been getting progressively more and more complex. And if you notice, like some of the distances, the time spans between when live quests happen, you can start to see like how long it takes to rewrite something and rebuild it and implement a bunch of new logic before we go live with another Stellar Quest. And I think we had 200 or 300 people do the first one, and the last one we did had like 3,000 or 4,000. So it grows in its interest of the number of people who can actually get through it, and that just continues to add more and more complexity to the back end and the front end. So through the course of those 2 years, I've built up a really good team of contractors from within the community that are just wicked talented, way better than I am at building this thing. I think that's one of the things that's so cool about this particular Stellar Quest. And I want to call these people out because this is as cool as getting to do Sorobon Quest and learning these things. We've got this new Git pod infrastructure. Like, there's really cool stuff that we'll get to play around with over the next few days, but it's only possible because we have a massive team of people. They're able to pull this together really, really quickly. And I really just acted as like project manager. And I wrote the CLI, the little Stellar Quest CLI, but that was basically all I did. Everything else, somebody else handled, and they did an amazing job. So in 3 weeks, we're able to make a complete 360, 180 turn.
I love this comment. It was like, just jump ship to Sorobon. Good call. So we did the right thing here.
I definitely think it was. I mean, again, I hadn't actually played with it, but once I did, it was like, oh, wow.
Right.
This is actually super, super fun. I had done some stuff with Solidity and Near, and I mean, I hadn't been this excited about Stellar since I found it way back in 2014 and started poking around with it. It is so much fun. And to be able to kind of just do anything, just write arbitrary, stupid logic inside of
Right.
in a smart contract and actually
Literally
have
create
that
like
execute
smart
on chain
machines and like
is
do
so cool.
whatever. And it's like I could do anything
On
now. Like
Stellar, like who would have thought?
it's kind of wild, especially for someone who's so OG in the community. It's like, I mean, for me, this is my first like Stellar Quest live. I've heard so much about it to date. I'm just so excited to like see what it's actually like. This like I don't know. It's always like this. To me, it felt like this myth might not be the right word, but this thing that could happen. It's like this whole thing. It's a festival. It's a gamified version. So it's a whole thing that I'm so excited to see it come to life finally. I know. I also didn't realize there are like 5 quests that come out, so it doesn't stop with one. It's like one every weekend. You just get so hungry to keep going, and then now we might even have a little thing at the end which can keep the fun going. So stay tuned for that in the future. But seriously, we're so excited to get like started on Sorobon. I think the entire community is as excited as you are, Tyler. I mean, can you hear it in my voice? The excitement, the nervousness, a little bit,
Oh
but
yeah, for sure. And this like it's definitely giving me those initial series 1 vibes where it was like I'm gonna hack something together in a month
right.
and see what happens. It very much feels this way, right? 3 weeks is not a long time. Even if you have a lot of people, there's a minimal amount of testing you can do beforehand. Like we don't even have all the challenges like written yet, right? We're kind of
Right.
laying down. You ever seen oh shoot, what was that claymation TV show where the Wallace and Gromit, where the guy's on the train tracks and he's laying down tracks as the train is
Uh-huh.
going? That's kind of what we're doing right now. Quest 1 is always that one where all the bugs come out and say, haha,
Right.
missed me. And then we
Right.
squish them, which is fun. So yeah, there's that initial call of like, be gracious. We've got a nice feedback channel
Yep.
in our Discord where you can post issues that you're having. We've got a good moderator crew who I'm sure will be more than happy to help
Yeah.
fix issues. There probably will be some things that we'll need to work through. Futurenet has never been tested at this scale. We're using Gitpod for the first time, so hopefully that works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we like. Stellar Quest is one of those things that's really hard to test
Right.
unless you do it live. You can do as much as you can, but then you've got to push the button and do it live and see what
And then it's
happens.
like is the
And
red
after we
button.
get through, yeah, 1 or 2 quests, things kind of settle out.
Right.
Everybody's got the badges of honor from different series and quests in the past when like
Yeah.
I broke the caching and everything was broken. We remember when we did it on mobile and I
Mhm.
couldn't actually update things because I had to like go through Apple to get approval. I mean, there's been some
So you
wonderful
could do this
times
on
here.
mobile, is what you're telling me. Like you don't need a
Yeah.
whole setup.
No,
You know,
no.
you
We
could literally
definitely
do it
do.
on
I mean, so
mobile.
we've done different series, right? So we start on
Right.
desktop.
Uh-huh.
I think we may have done desktop twice. And then I built out a whole mobile application and it was
Uh-huh.
garbage because you couldn't get anything updated if something broke. And the login mechanic was cool. It was something to try. And then we
Right.
scrapped that whole thing and rebuilt it all on the desktop on the web. And so we're back on the web. That's where Learn is.
Mhm.
And now we're going to be doing the quests like outside of the Stellar Quest environment
Right.
entirely inside of a Git pod.
Git
So
pod, right. Do you wanna do like a Git pod
who
demo,
knows? Yes,
Tyler?
I
Like
definitely do. I would love
yeah,
to walk
because
through.
I'm like, I mean, for all these questers who might have even done it before, they might not have done Git pod.
I never
I
had.
know well, I guess do you wanna walk through your first impressions of Git pod, Tyler? I
Yeah,
know
sure.
a
Let me.
while back we did a stream with Lee where, or not a while back, that was like last week or 2 weeks ago, where we did the stream with Lee about the fact that, I mean, it's as easy as zero config dev environment for like Sorbonne. Is that kind
Yeah,
of what this is like?
that's
How
exactly what this is. Now,
perfect.
disclaimer: this one's the Pioneer Quest. The one that we're actually going to be playing on today is just Sorobon Quest, but I haven't
Right.
pushed any of the actual quests to it yet, so it'll be a little bit empty and not super helpful. So I'm going to be demoing the Pioneer version of this, and it's worth mentioning.
Elliot made a video too, right? Just wanted
That's right.
to
Yeah, Elliot made a
right.
video. I think it's actually in the README here now.
Perfect.
That you can go and watch that walks through Pioneer. But even if you get stuck, there's a lot of places in the normal Sorobon Quest repo that point to this Pioneer Quest. I tried to keep some nice separation. I didn't want to overload with information on the main one. Like people want it to be nice and streamlined, just get me to my quest. But for people that get stuck or get locked, like Nisho, we need this other place to point people to where they can actually slow down, read through all the details. There's lots of prizes, so take your time if you're getting stuck. Who knows? Maybe it'll get broken, and I'll have to do some debugging tonight. And while that's going on, you can all form your little, Discord servers and do some support remediation stuff, and I'll fix the bugs. But you can also go here and read through this Pioneer Quest.
I do want to say, Tyler, you have a chair set up there tonight, unlike your usual toys.
Yes.
I think someone even noticed it as well. So is that why you're sleeping in this room tonight?
Exactly. But I should have put a bed as like a prop and just been like really baggy eyed. Like, No, I'm telling you, like, again, we had a team of almost 16 people that were working on this. So I have done my fair share of work, but so has everyone. You spread 3 weeks of work over 16 people, you can get a lot of stuff done.
For sure.
So yeah, it definitely has been a lot of work, particularly to keep things moving forward here right towards the end. But I mean, we've got artwork that got shipped in 3 weeks. Like, this is incredible. All right. So anyway, this is our repo for the Pioneer Quest. Lots of great information we can read through here. We've got, I think it's actually in the main one. We've got our schedule for the quest. Let me open that one up really quick so that.
Yeah. Do you want to start from the quest landing page, maybe?
The GIP. Oh yeah. That's a great idea.
We have a very beautiful landing page.
We've got this gorgeous countdown timer, which is ticking down the seconds until the quest goes live. So props to my front end. I hadn't actually tested this. So Jessmar, props to you. This looks fantastic. We've got the Unfold guys from that design firm that wrote some great illustrations for us. We've got our links here for our watch party and the Git pod you can open up. The main Git pod that we'll be working in is this one right here. You'll notice our quest just has the initial story in it. Our incredible, exciting, thrilling story brought to us by our very own STF Bree. That's why I'm playing Stellar Quest for the story. I'm watching this thing unfold.
The story is awesome.
But anyway, that's our Zero quest. It's in there right now. What's going to happen when we get closer to the end of the stream, really when it tips over from 8 to 9 my time, tips over the hour, I've got over here on my screen, I've got a commit all ready to go, which is going to load in the next quest to this quest directory. And then inside of your Git pod, I'll show you in a minute, but inside of your Git pod, you'll either run a git pull, or there's actually an SQ, the CLI bot that I built. Are CLIs bots? The CLI executable binary? The executable.
I don't think CLIs are bots, but
they're not bots. So what are they?
They're like things that
helper tools. Little friend. The little Squirtle friend that I wrote will pull down the next quest for you. Hopefully, if everything went according to plan. We had to be very careful not to accidentally leak our quests. So testing is not the easiest. But anyway, this is the repo that we'll be working from. Whenever I push up the next quest, the one of the quest, that'll show up in this directory. And then when we open up our Git pod, it'll pull that in, or when you're in your Git pod, it'll already be able to be pulled down. All right, but we're not going to be working from that one. Though I would say it would be a good idea to go ahead and open up this Git pod and get it ready. There's a Futurenet that takes about 5 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes, I don't know, to actually spin up and sync with the network. So it's good to have this ready so that you aren't waiting for your Futurenet to spin up at all. Let's go ahead and walk through that. So this is your repo with the Pioneer Quest. You can open that in Git pod. And these Git pods actually kind of interesting. If we copy the link address, we can take a look at what's actually happening. So you open up in Git pod, and this works for every public GitHub repository. You can open it up straight in Git pod. So this is kind of like Git pod pro tips. You can add environment variables. I'm just saying we want to open this up in the production environment so that we're actually doing Stellar Quest on the prod environment. And we're opening it up on this particular repository, which is what that button. So there's no magic in that button. It's just opening up this
a Git pod.
Which this one, if we open up another one, I think this one might actually tell me that I've already got one open. But if you run into trouble and your Gitpod breaks, or you've accidentally deleted something and you need to spin it back up, or you've just damaged it beyond repair, you can always just open up a new workspace. The old one will just expire after like 24 hours or something. That's another nice
So
little.
does it create like a new workspace on its own, or is it overriding your current workspace?
Nope, it'll just create another one.
Perfect.
So like if you go to your Gitpod dashboard, you can just see all of my many
Workspaces.
workspaces, which there are some of these, like I'm working through the Rustlings
Right.
course to learn Rust. So you can pin these and then they won't go into this inactive space. They'll definitely spin down after like those, I don't maybe even 30 minutes. I'm not exactly sure how long it takes for an inactive Gitpod to turn off, but you can pin them so they don't go back to inactive. But I do suggest, since we'll be updating the Stellar Quest, that you don't pin. And every time you're about to start a new quest, watching the stream, just go ahead and spin up a brand new Gitpod workspace with this repository.
Absolutely. Tyler, we have a question here from Shell. They said that they're afraid to open up a desktop version of VS Code. Is it seamless or better off sticking with the web version?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I know that feature to pull it down to the desktop is a little bit new. And I really want to try it because I've got all my themes and extensions and shortcuts inside of my desktop one. So I'm definitely going to be trying that probably tomorrow or early next week just to see what that experience is like. So I would suggest maybe after this quest, trying that yourselves, where you can actually open it up in your own local VS Code application and run Gitpod there. But yeah, maybe stick to the web for this quest just in case it busts. But hey, maybe there's your competitive advantage. You don't have to worry about whatever caps Chrome has on memory consumption. I've noticed even if you type really fast, sometimes it can get slow. But that's when you're Kanye Net and you're really trying to carve every last. Of course, he's probably got a bot that clicks for him. It's hopeless. The best anybody will do is second place.
Yeah, Fragged Reality. I always struggle with this username here, but delete a bunch of workspaces. Maybe that could help with clearing up some space, but I don't know. It's all on the web, so
yeah, I've got no idea how
Gitpod actually works with storage. But beyond that, I guess Tyler, your recommendation is stick to the web for this quest. Play around with it in between this quest and the next one on everything like VS Code and desktop, and see what you like for the next one.
Exactly. That's what I would do. Hey, if you want to try and pull it down, you've got 30 minutes to figure that out. And if it works, hey, it works. You're not gonna break anything. It just might not work and you'd have to go back to the web. But
right. Apparently the desktop version has higher compatibility with extensions, as not all of them are compatible with just web environments.
We've got a Gitpod Pro, VS Code Pro in that chat.
Right, not proer. Proer is not a word, but anyways, please continue, Tyler.
Now, all right. So there'll be a lot of reading in these quests, and I've noticed that I don't like reading readmes that look like this. And there's this cool little button up here on your readmes where you can open up a much more beautiful readme. So that's a nice little pro tip whenever you're reading through a lot of these bits and pieces to get rid of this nastiness and open up these beautiful readmes that our very own Elliot, your new friend Elliot, has written. He did an amazing job pulling these together with the what's it called? It's been a week. Quintessential, classic, very Stellar Quest-like language is what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
He has brought his own
OG Stellar Quest language.
Of excitement, friendship, kindness, and wonder.
Absolutely. I mean, that video was a lot of energy. I was like, dang, Elliot, you have more energy than I do, and I'm a very energetic person.
Yes, I will take whatever coffee he is drinking.
Right.
I did like that video. Videos are really hard. It's I don't think people really understand how hard it is to have a lot of energy and excitement when you're sitting in a room all by yourself and there's literally nobody else around you.
Right.
To have that kind of level of interest and excitement and trying to keep it like breathed and moving along and progressing.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it's a talent.
Yep.
All right, so that's enough about the README. I would like to talk. So I'm rehashing a little bit of what Elliot covered in his video. So he does a much better job of working through these things quickly. But I'm just going to kind of walk through the different components. So this is VS Code, but if you're like me, you never actually use the terminal in VS Code. You use the terminal app in like Mac or something. So I wasn't actually familiar with using the terminal inside of VS Code. So that was a little bit of a gotcha or a foreign concept to me when actually playing around inside of a Git pod. The other piece was um, all of these different bash terminals. Like I'm used to having multiple tabs open in my terminal. I was not used to opening up my terminal and having 4 of them already pre-configured for you with names. And what the heck is all that? So let's talk through those just a little bit. I think this is probably one of the coolest things about Gitpod is the ability to like configure the environment, but not just like pull in code or even set up VS Code, but to actually configure the environment itself. Let me pull this down just a little bit so we can see a bit more of this. So like we have our own custom Docker image, which gets pulled in. So this isn't just running like VS Code. It's running an actual VM, which is running VS Code, but has a whole environment built around it. Part of that environment includes things like Rust and Deno. We've got the Sorobon CLI. We've got a couple of things that make like Cargo Watch and a cache to help with cargo builds. We're installing the nightly version of Rust. Like there's all kinds of interesting things that the Docker file is pulling in. And for any like Rust experts or Docker experts, if I've misconfigured something, like I don't actually know if I need the full workspace here. This is open source code. So if some genius out there wants to come and fix my Gitpods configuration, I would love PRs. We've gotten some great PRs from Kanye already, improving some of our Bash
Mhm.
profiling. I had no idea that there was such a thing as a Bash hook, which is going to make your Stellar Quest play experience much nicer. But he pulled that in for us. If there are other experts here that want to commit PRs to try and improve this, it's very easy to test your changes. You just spin up another Git pod, so you can have some level of confidence that the changes you're committing will actually work.
Mhm.
So that's a nice little call out to that. The other piece is, like I said, this Git pod file here, where we've got these tasks. So these tasks is a YAML file. So you've got this array of tasks. One of them is this albedo signer, and you're going to start to notice that the names here are going to begin to match up with the names you see over here. Albedo signer is just a little website signer that we use to help with login and then also when you're claiming your badges. So we actually use the Gitpod, this little tiny Gitpod website that actually will serve to sign your badges. We actually use it for the login too, as a callback to pull in your authentication token. Lots of stuff happening behind the scenes to make this a really clean, simple experience. I mean, it was a ton of fun to try and figure out how in the world Gitpod works to make this actually work in 3 weeks. The next part we're doing is this Futurenet, so you don't have to worry about actually spinning up your own Futurenet, right? Where we may be used to working in a sandbox environment where everything's happening locally. And the thing that turned me off initially was like, oh, I don't want to work in a sandbox. I want this to actually like be like a network and spend some lumens when I submit a transaction and be real accounts and stuff like that. The sandbox is cool because it's very quick. You get this little JSON file where you can look at the state of the ledger whenever you make a change, but I still want to see it like on an actual network. And I also knew until we had Futurenet, I couldn't actually run a Stellar Quest because there's nothing to check off of. But now that we do have a Futurenet, the big question is, well, shoot, how am I going to spin up a Futurenet? I don't know how to do that. I don't know Docker. I don't know how to configure my environment with the space needed to run this thing. Well, that's one of the big energy kind of like behind doing
Getting Gitpod
Gitpod
ready.
in the first place was
Yep.
to see if we could actually spin up a Futurenet inside of a Gitpod, and turns out we can. If we go to our ports over here, you'll see that there's 2 ports that are open. This is that albedo signer here for that little website I was talking about, and then we actually have Futurenet. And if we go there, you see what looks like the Horizon endpoint, and it very much is. It's just running on Sorobon on the Future network. It's fully syncing. You've got this fully operational Futurenet running right inside of your own Git pod. So what's cool is whenever you're running Sorobon commands inside of this Futurenet bash, which we'll get to in a moment, those will actually be executing through your own Futurenet. You might be saying, well, wait a minute, buddy, doesn't Laboratory have its own Futurenet? Well, yes, it does. The problem is this Futurenet doesn't have an RPC endpoint. Don't ask me exactly what an RPC endpoint is. All I know is that it's really important for actually running the Sorobon commands when you're actually trying to read contract data, pulling things down, submitting stuff. It's important. There's a lot of stuff that's going into like changes that have happened with the inclusion of smart contracts, because now we've got actual contract data online. We need to read the state of that contract data, right? It isn't all just stored on Horizon. And so what a lot of smart contract protocols do is they have this RPC endpoint, and we have this now, but it doesn't exist. It's not supported on the public Futurenet. And so you have to run your own quick start or your own Futurenet with this Futurenet flag. I'm sorry, this enable Sorobon RPC flag enabled. That's how you get that Sorobon RPC endpoint. So that's why we're running that here. That's why that's important, particularly as we get into future quests. Having your own Futurenet will be important. It'll keep you unblocked from the single thread that the existing Sorobon RPC endpoint is constrained to. So that's that one. The next one we set up after the Futurenet is the CLI for the Futurenet. So we've got these two different CLIs. One is for the sandbox, where you can kind of run Sorobon like you've been doing on your local machine, where you get these like ledger JSON files. It's very cool. It's very fast, but it's not real. It's not on the network. And that's where the Futurenet bash comes in. And this, like, if you take nothing out of what I'm saying, when you're doing Stellar Quest, do it inside of the Futurenet bash, because you can complete quests all day long, but if they don't make it to the Futurenet, if I can't check, if the service can't check to see if you actually completed the quest correctly, you're never going to pass, because it doesn't exist in a place that I can look it up. It's just local. But Sandbox is nice if you're trying to go quick to test changes to contracts, or seeing what the product of a particular like transaction or invocation might be. You can look up that information, what the WASM file is, or the ID of the contract that you just deployed, or something like that. And really the only thing that's different between the two is in the environment variables inside of the Futurenet, we set a Sorobon secret key, the RPC URL, which you'll notice is this RPC endpoint that we spun up here. It's just a local host for your existing environment. And then we also set the passphrase to make sure that we're syncing with the actual existing Futurenet. I'm setting a secret key in the Pioneer quest so that we don't have to worry about actually connecting to real Stellar Quest. This gets set automatically, though. This was that thing that Connie Net saved all of our time with. When you run the Stellar Quest play command, which actually gets you your key pair that you need to complete the quest in, it will automatically update this variable for you. So as long as you run that command before you try and complete the quest, it will be completing your challenge on the right account. This is the account that is used to actually like submit transactions, sign transactions when you're submitting them to the Futurenet.
Right.
The next one, nothing fancy really going on here. I run some cargo commands to just go ahead and install all of the dependencies that Rust is using when it's building out the contracts, so that build times will be much faster. It can be quite slow to grab all of your dependencies right now, but I do that inside of what's called the pre-image for the Git pod. So Git pod like looks at our environment, bundles it all up so that when you load it, it's much faster. And that's why it's inside of this init command. So that when I do something like make build, it should be much faster.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't need to actually go and download all of the dependencies because I ran that inside of the initializer. So all of that exists inside of the
That
cargo.
is so fast. I previously remember waiting like 15 minutes for it all to run down.
Yeah. So that was a lot of playing around with how Gitpod actually works with their pre-images. So that should be very nice.
So we have a question here where it says, is there a way to determine if Horizon is ready for the Docker tab?
I don't think so from the Docker tab. It might be nice. I might add a command to the Squirtle command line interface to just see when Futurenet is ready. It's actually pretty simple. You just need to open up your Futurenet tab and see if the ingest latest ledger is not 0 and is ticking upwards. That's how you know you're like in a place that's ready to sync. But at the end of the day, once you can start to submit transaction to it, you're kind of golden. I don't do checks off of the RPC endpoint.
And Elliot just mentioned that curl localhost would also do the same thing.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Just make sure, you pass the same. Yeah. So the RPC doesn't need the RPC. You can just curl this one right here.
Yep.
Great point. The only other thing left inside of the Gitpod YAML file is the ports where we actually are opening up the Futurenet, the Albedo signer, and then I have no idea what this port is. I think it has something to do with cargo test. Literally no idea. So I just set it to private. Probably somebody's spying on me every time I open up a Gitpod, but if you don't have this port, let me know. But I have set it to ignore and be private because I still have no idea what that is. Full disclosure. All right, so that's the kind of the Gitpod environment configuration. Let's walk through our good friend Squirtle SQ. We can just type in that command, and we get our nice little CLI output with all of our commands and options. These are kind of configured in the order in which you'll probably use them. So you can kind of just go down, the most obvious one being that you'll have to log in to actually be able to complete any of these stellar quests. That's how we know who you are and whether or not you've connected a public key or done your KYC and tax to know if we can give you XLM. But essentially, if you've got an account over on quest.stellar.org, whatever Discord you've used to log in over there, you'll use to log in over here as well. So this SQ login will ask you to agree to the rules, and then it will forward you to a Discord login that does a backend check on the Stellar Quest side, and then forwards that authentication token over to this Gitpod instance so that you can actually start doing quests.
Right.
We've got logout, so you can get out of that if you having problems or you need to log into your alt account. Don't you dare do that. I'll find you and ban you. We've got Stellar Quest user where you can look up information like if you perhaps when you first log in and you don't have, let me actually do this, which we have those two different environments, and I think I'm on the prod environment. I'll log in. Yes, I agree to the official rules. This will open up Discord. I'll authorize that, and then that will go straight back here. And it'll wait a couple seconds and do that lookup on my account. And yes, I'm fully authenticated. I've got all of my documents filled out. If some of those are empty, it'll prompt you to fill those out and send you over to the Stellar Quest settings page where you can fill out your KYC or tax documents if you don't have those filled out yet. You can also do SQMe, which will pull up that same information on your account. Let's go back to that help list. We got SQ Open, which just opens up Stellar Quest website. If for some reason you need to jump over there and don't remember the URL, I always like it when there's a nice little helper for that, so I included it. SQPoll, that's the one that's going to pull down your command. So if you've got this Gitpod open, or not this one, but the one that's the not the Pioneer Quest one, just Sorobon Quest, that's the command you're going to run that will pull down any new or missing quests into your quest directory. So this is the command you're going to run once we tip over from over the hour here. So in about 19 minutes or so. Now this is running some magic, but again, full disclosure, both Squirtle and the client, the front end website are open source. So you can actually, if you don't like this command or you're worried, what in the world is this actually running? You can go into this directory right here. We can do a search on poll and see what this command is actually running. So what it does is it does a git stash, which if you've been messing around inside your git pod and I don't want to accidentally delete all of the code you've written, I'll stash that. I'll fetch the existing repo that we're on, which would be in this case the private one, but yours would be the normal Stellar Quest one. That'll pull down any existing changes. And then we do get pull and we assume theirs. So it will have a preference if there are changes to the changes that are official. And then it will finally pull back in any changes that you had doing stash pop. If you've done some crazy stuff, modifying things, you will have clashes that you'll have to clear out if you actually want to save those changes or keep those changes. Maybe you're running a branch. I don't know what you're doing. But essentially I stash it and then I put it back in after I pulled in existing changes. I think this is right. I'm not a Git wizard. So if you don't trust me and you want to do it your own way and you are a Git wizard, either A, or maybe A, first try it yourself using whatever Git, pull, pop, push, stash, whatever you want to do. And then send me a nice clean PR to tell me how this is a terrible thing to do. And what you really should do is whatever you're doing.
So feedback. That's what Tyler really wants.
Yeah, again, we wrote this all in 3 weeks, so how good can you actually be? But that's, again, one of the reasons I've open sourced those pieces so that people can contribute if they don't like the way that SQPoll works right now.
Yep.
Next up, we've got SQPlay. Now, if I've built my application correctly, SQPlay, hopefully I'm about to get embarrassed, shouldn't actually work right now because we're still 15 minutes out.
I was like, are we actually playing the real quest right now?
No, definitely not. That would be terrible because then people would be like, what are we doing watching a stream? I'm
getting the answers.
Yes, this is not okay. So the challenge is not active right now because it hasn't tipped over the hour. So assuming A, that my caching is right, and B, my backend actually will deliver the quest when you do SQPlay 1 after the hour, this should give you your actual SQ or I guess your quest key pair, or your public and private key that you'll use to play quest 1. So these are indexed. The first quest we're playing tonight, obviously, is number 1. On Monday, it'll be 2. And you'll just kind of progress up through those playing that command there. So after that comes, definitely don't run play before you've logged in or filled out information. Like, again, you can play Stellar Quest without actually having a public key connected, KYC or tax done. Oh. If you don't have a public key, you get no NFT or XLM or
a real reward.
Or a real reward, right? But you can still play. If you're like, I don't want to give any information away, I don't even want you to know what my public key is. Sweet. I'll tell you whether or not you got the challenge right. If you give me your public key, I can give you a badge. If you give me, if you fill out the KYC and tax information, then you get the badge and the XLM rewards based off of your placement. So that is a nice little fun fact, though.
You can do it after you complete the quest too, correct?
No. Well, you can do it afterwards, but I can't hold your place in line if you haven't filled out that information. So you might get first place as fast as lightning and decide, oh, actually, you know what? I do want the XLM. I'm not going to hold your place. If you want to get those rewards, you need to.
People should use this time right now to just go ahead and do it. Like at the
that would be my suggestion.
Right.
Yeah, to fill out the KYC and tax information so that we're able to give you XLM. If you don't care about that, either A, don't fill it out, or fill it out another time. Come back for quest 2 for the Lumens. But give us a public key, you can at least get the NFT.
Right.
But I do like now that it's completely open for people to pick and choose at what level they're comfortable.
No,
if you just want to learn something, don't give me anything.
Exactly.
After play comes fund. This is just a nice little helper. When you get that public key from play, you can't actually use it to submit anything in Futurenet until it's a funded account. We all know that. We've played Learn, right? So we have this nice little command to fund that key so that you can use it inside of when you're actually doing Sorobon CLI commands. SQ check. This is the one that everybody's going to love the most. Because it's going to tell you whether or not you actually completed the quest successfully. So SQ check 1. Once you've done all your Sorobon stuff and you think you've got it right, do SQ check 1. Yeah, we should have a running timer to see who has to run this the most before they finally pass and get their XDR. Once this does pass, what's going to happen is it's going to spit out an option for you to sign the transaction. It generates a transaction for you, which includes your NFT or your XLM rewards and or your XLM rewards. And you'll have the option now to either sign that on all beta, or it'll actually spit out a raw XDR that you could sign and then resubmit.
Right.
So if you wanted to use Laboratory to sign this or some other wallet, you can always spit that out to just raw XDR. But that if you do that, we do have this last command, SQ submit, which accepts an XDR command because when you get check, it's an unsigned transaction. I need to make sure that I'm the SQ backend is the final signer on that transaction. So you just submit a XDR and XDR to that final SQ command, submit, pop in whatever you just signed, that XDR you did in Laboratory, take that signed XDR and pop it into this command. And it will sign and submit it for you. And then you'll have your badge and lumens. And that's all that's in SQ CLI for now.
Sweet.
Yeah. And that,
Yeah.
I guess, do we have any, I don't know if we have any questions yet.
I do want to say, just like a call out here. I see the comment here. Can't really ignore it, but thank you. I'm flattered, but at the same time, this is not appropriate for this particular channel. So I appreciate that, as Kanye and Elliot have both said. I just echo that same comment. Cool. Beyond that, I don't see any questions yet. So folks, I would really, really love some questions here in the chat. So, I mean, 12 minutes to go, which is really exciting. But
yeah,
any questions? I mean, any hints, Tyler? I mean, the first question.
Absolutely not.
I mean,
I've already given
Tyler.
you a load of hints. You just don't know it yet. Once the SQ
did you drop Easter eggs already, Tyler? I mean, I don't
there's
even
plenty
know.
of clues, right? If people have been paying attention and
See,
trying things out, this first quest is going to be a piece of cake.
Any hints on what the future quests might hold?
Yes, actually. If you this is something new for Stellar Quest. We've never done this before, and I'm sure probably nobody actually noticed, but we actually include the titles for each of the future quests. So that should give you a decent amount to work off of for what to study up on before the next quest come out. We used to hide that information entirely.
Now they know.
Now you know.
You can come prepared to the exam.
Yes,
to like just make sure you're the highest scorer or score.
Right.
You got
Something
the highest
like
score. Did someone make videos? We were talking about Elliot's video. So basically, Elliot made a video talking about what Tyler just did in regards to the Pioneer Quest. So you can have a little bit of an introduction. So if you wanted to go take a look anytime during that, it's also in the README file, as Tyler pointed out earlier. And honestly, you're more than welcome to make a post-quest Sorobon, playing around with Sorobon.
We're still looking for our streamer.
Sora Bonathon submissions. What did you say, Tyler?
We're still looking for our streamer, our professional Stellar Quest sponsored streamer,
right?
Who get on stream and do these videos.
Y'all can just literally like make a stream about doing your Sorobon Quest live. I would watch a stream like that. I don't know.
I want to see Raph and open one of those up and knock that out of the park. Yep. I think that would be that'd be very cool.
I saw the titles, and we'll study the docs now. Study on the docs.
I'm telling you, I don't give away much, but I do give away enough for the dedicated to get the competitive edge. I even gave you your own free Futurenet. Like, what more do you want from me?
Zero config.
It's a Git pod, for crying out loud.
Yeah. It can't be that hard, right? But
no, probably not. I did want to call out quickly the actual Sorobon CLI.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, you just trigger it with Sorobon, and it'll give you out this helpful list of commands, which probably don't mean much to anybody, but that's part of why you're here. I will say there aren't actually very good docs, or there aren't like any docs on what these different commands do, and that's because the CLI is its own docs. So you can type out any of these, like invoke, and then add the help command to the end of it, and it will give you all of the options and descriptions of what they do and whether or not you're in the sandbox or the RPC. Like, this is how I found out what actual environment variables I was going to need to configure when I was standing up the Git pod. And this exists for all of these things. So 2 that we're going to need today, spoiler alert, are invoke and deploy. So having those on hand to know what am I going to need to supply to my deploy and invoke Sorobon commands. And you'll notice I've already made a huge mistake because I've been running Sorobon inside of Sandbox. I should be running inside of Futurenet, which again, if you're running in Sandbox and you're playing around, that's not a big deal. But just be aware again that if you're going to be actually trying to complete Stellar Quest, you're going to be pulling your hair out as you run SQ check, thinking you've done everything correct when you probably were just in the wrong bash.
I see, but Nisho, I'll Nisho all the live quests at 3 a.m. Love that.
Yes, yes, as per usual. I believe in you, Nisha. You can do this. You're a grown man now. You can figure this out.
One of a kind, right? I think recently we were talking about Nisho in a conversation, and you're like, he's one of a kind. There couldn't be no other Nisho.
Yes, most of our, well, I mean, every person on planet Earth is one of a kind, but there are those unique individuals who are, they become a verb.
Yeah,
Don't
clearly
Nisha this quest.
you're Nishoing this quest. They become a verb. That is one way. Sweet. All right. Are we, how many more minutes to go here, Tyler?
Well, let's see. We've got our countdown over here inside of the live quest. We've got 6 minutes and 55 seconds to go.
Last minute questions, anyone?
Everybody, it's time to use the toilet, get some refreshments. I need to go figure out how to actually deploy this thing, get it live on my Git instance, and then start working through bugs. Make sure, like, as people are in the chat, make sure to, if you're not already in the Discord, to join the Discord.
Yeah, the QR code is up at the top, in the top corner.
Oh, sick. Nice.
So just scan the QR code, you'll be in the Discord.
Yeah. Discord GG/StellarQuest.
Or that.
That works too. But yeah, join the Discord tonight. The first quest is always a little who knows what's going to happen. Be kind to each other. This is usually where we find our next Luminauts. Those are our moderators, people that are going in the Discord and helping people out, calming them down. It can always be a bit mayhematic whenever something breaks, which is typical for the first quest, particularly when we do it so quick. I mean, we've had a lot of people work on this. I have a high level of confidence, but I also have a history. So I would be remiss to think that this was all going to go swimmingly. I'll be around to make sure bugs are fixed as they pop up. Again, this quest is a challenge. We didn't give you anything, so you may still be running into issues, but once you complete it, as you complete it, stick around maybe a little bit in the Discord, answer questions as people have them. Yep. This is when we find our next Luminauts. It is a ton of fun, honestly, to just have a bunch of people all working on the same thing from all over the world.
Elliot and I were talking recently as well, where he was like, people come for the quest, but stay for the community. And it truly is a community.
It sounds so like cliche, but it is actually true, where people who've been through Stellar Quest, particularly bad ones, they don't ever leave. Like there's something about it that's very community centric, and just, I don't know, a bunch of friends hanging out, breaking stuff, trying to learn technology. I don't know. As engineers, it's pretty cool.
And the best part, I talk about hackathons. Tyler hates hackathons. I don't know if I should quote Tyler on that, but Tyler despises
That's fine.
hackathons. I
am very anti-hackathon.
Yep. But the best part about anything hackathon-esque is, like, you're just sitting in a Discord channel late at night trying to debug something. The best feeling is like that aha moment. So when you solve the quest, man, that moment is worth it.
That's exactly right. Yep. And full disclosure, like, this quest is meant to be kind of easy. Like, if you're getting stuck, don't feel bad. Rust, Sorobon, Web3, it does have a pretty steep learning curve up front. Mm-hmm. Both Elliot and the copywriters here, Bree, myself, have done a pretty good job. We've tried to do a good job providing loads and loads of content for you to watch and read. And there's really good documentation on sorobon.stellar.org. So you can figure this out. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it actually was. I really am not that smart. I didn't go to school. I'm a hacker, not a professional. And it wasn't that difficult to sort through how to actually get some of these things up and on to the Futurenet. Things really do start to click if you take the time to read and play around with it. So my hope is through this first quest, we'll be able to get through it. It'll be fun. It'll get everybody hooked. And then on Monday, then we really start questing.
Yeah. This one's like an intro quest, right? It says hello world, so
yes,
yeah.
yep. This is really kind of your intro quest. We're gonna figuring out the Get Pod, figuring out the style, right? We've been doing quests on the web, quests on stellar.org for years, and today we're using Get Pod. So that's a big divergence. It's a big change. We wanted to be a little bit gentle, but again, everything might break. We might be here for a while. Who knows? That's the fun of these things. We're definitely getting back to those series one vibes. Community.
Do you want to get
friends.
the countdown timer up, Tyler? It's coming.
2 minutes 45
There you
seconds.
go.
I feel like I did. I built a compiled a playlist on Spotify.
Ooh.
For the music that built Stellar Quest, all the beats I listened to over the last 2 years as I've built Stellar Quest.
Wait, that's so cool. You should share that. Is it out there?
Yeah. I shared it a while ago in general. But I feel like we need to. Everybody needs to go and figure.
Anniversary Sorobon quest like never before type thing.
I'll pop this into the general chat again inside of the Discord. So this is we can listen to the music. These are the beats that built Stellar Quest, which we actually need to expand this now to let all of the builders who build Stellar Quest, like again, we've got 15, 16 people who built Stellar Quest now. We need to open this up and have other contributors able to submit music. Mm-hmm. I might even let Nisho put one in there. That is something worth calling out here in our last minute. We Kanye built a bot for our Discord that takes into account badges. So if you're brand new and you don't have any Stellar Quest badges, you actually won't be able to chat. You can search. So use search to look up your questions. Most of your questions will have already been asked. But if you really, really need to chat, go and solve some of the learn badges. Go and solve some of the learn quests. You need 3 badges from the first quest that'll let you in, or for the first level that'll let you in. You only need 2 from level 2 to be able to start chatting, and you only need 1 from level 3. So if you complete any of those in any of those levels, there's a bot. There's a channel called Verification. You can go in there, click a button, and if your account is past that threshold, it'll let you chat.
Sweet. 55 seconds, y'all. All right, Tyler.
Upload. I'm making the commit now. Upload contract. I really don't want to do this live because it's going to be super embarrassing. Upload contract. Upload quest 1. Main. This one has a couple, like more than just the changes. This actually has a Git pod thing, which I don't think is going to break anything, but we'll see. I'm going to open up my own hub. So make sure you're on the Sorobon quest and you've got this one open. Oh, I left my I also don't know what happens with the switch to live here. 3, 2, 1.
5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Is it live?
I just pushed that commit.
Woohoo! Did anything break?
Oh, well, we won't know quite yet.
Quite yet. Got it.
Looks like this one stood up. So let's do SQPoll.
It's live. It's pulled.
There it is. Number 1. Hello, world. All right, I'm going to close the stream. It looks like it's all working. If there will be something that gets broken, it'll be something different. So I'm going to go pay attention in the chat.
In the Discord. So be sure to join the Discord if you wanted to talk or anything. We look forward to seeing who wins.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. This has been a ton of fun.
That's your win. Take care.
Let us quest.
Bye.